guys, welcome to Gaming and Console Tech. I am Ash, back again with what is, for today, a special video. It's been a long time since Sonic fans have got a decent Sonic game. I'm not going to go too much into it, but in celebration of Sonic Mania, which is a return to roots for the blue blur that we love so much as kids, I am going to do a Sonic the Hedgehog retrospective from Sonic 1 through to Sonic and Knuckles. Just for the simple fact that Sonic Mania comes straight after those games. So without further ado, let's go. Okay guys, just to clarify, each Sonic game I'm going to be going through is going to be on this screen here. Now, what can be said about Sonic 1 except for the fact that it generally defined a whole generation to go up against what was the video game master of consoles at the time, Mario. Now, that to me does touch a few nerves, not because it was daring or anything like that, but because the blue blur actually won for quite some time in the console market. Not to a point where they were definitive, but Sega got their foot in right there with Sonic, because whereas Mario was somewhat of a very slow and very, I don't know, calculated character, Sonic wasn't like that. Sonic was essentially that character that was going to prove everybody wrong and have this mean attitude to go along with that teenage kind of demographic it was going for. And honestly, that touched me quite a lot back in the day when that really took this character to another level for me. Now, what was Sonic? Well, Sonic the Hedgehog was this character here, and basically it was a side-scroller. It basically brought everything that Mario had to a faster paced level design, and that was somewhat of a big deal for not just me, but a lot of other defining gamers, a lot that I am actually friends with on Twitter as well. Now, along with these faster levels, you have things like that, which were basically special stages where you get what Sonic was looking for, basically the Chaos Emeralds. And they, I will admit, as a kid, made me quite sick. I will admit that. But Sonic the Hedgehog is generally a side-scroller that was faster paced than its rivals like Mario and other games on that kind of spectrum. So much so that it brought basically a lot of other characters into that fray, like Bubsy Bobcat, and he tried copying and made a hodgepodge of the formula that Sonic had grounded. But Sonic, all the way through the 2D era, kept that going, which is always great to know. So, what hit me about this game? The speed, the attitude, and generally the level design. The level design is masterful because it's literally multi-tiered, and it just makes everything great about it. The higher you go, the better the reward. The lower you go, the easier things are, but you might not be better off. So that's been Sonic 1. Let's move on to Sonic 2. So guys, Sonic 2. Sonic 2 is the game that literally got me into Sonic to begin with. Honestly, I played this one before I played the first one, and I never looked back. Honestly, it was one of the better games of my experience growing up as a gamer, and that is what really, really matters. Now, this one in particular brought this, which was multiplayer, simply because you had a second character, and that second character was Miles Tails Prower, commonly known as Tails to most of us, but that was his full name. And you had the option to have that character follow you, or have somebody play as that character while you're playing the main storyline to it. With that said, this one put a little bit more effort into story. Now, with the game itself, it's pretty much same old, same old. Same kind of level design, only a little bit more elaborate, if I may say. And also, it brought things like that, which are just complete speed bursting sections where you just didn't stop, essentially, and that was great. But that second character, that brought out possibilities for a multiplayer mode, which is what you've just seen, on basically certain levels, and it brought a little bit of a competitive edge to players that wanted to play Sonic games as well. So that was a good deal for most of us. Now, whereas story is concerned, this put a little bit more effort into its story. Now, it's not obviously mentioned in the game, but if you look at the manual, basically it said that Robotnik is looking to build a space station, and that space station, you find out the name of it later on. But, as always, Sonic's there to make the guy fumble, and unfortunately, he doesn't get anywhere, so yeah, there's that. But honestly, this one is a defining factor of my childhood, literally, just because of the type of game and the type of things you can do in these games. Now, this one wasn't the best out of the Sonic games in 2D for me, honestly, but we'll find that out in a minute when we move on to Sonic 3. Now guys, Sonic 3, now this is my favourite out of all of these games, period. Now with that said, this game has a lot more to do with story. Now, as you're going to see here, this little bit here is basically that intro to that story. Now, there's another character introduced in this game, and he's known as Knuckles. Now, obviously for all those Sonic fans we all know this, but it turns out that Knuckles has been tricked by Robotnik in basically getting the Chaos Emeralds and thinking that Sonic's the enemy, and that is not okay. So Sonic and Tails go out on a whim and basically go and try and stop him. In the process, they find out that Robotnik is building what is the Death Egg, which is a big, huge space station which you have to stop the launch of, and that kind of covers the story. It is simple, very simple premise, but it works and it concentrates on the gameplay. Now, the game in general and the actual level design in this is a lot more elaborate than Sonic 1 or 2, and it's got a lot more going for it as well. Not only that, you've got mid-level bosses as well, which kind of puts a little bit more intrigue to what you're going to be doing next if you don't know what's going on. And that to me is what made this game so cool. It kind of added to the original formula. Not in a drastic fashion, but it did do exactly that. And honestly, that is something which makes me very, very happy, and it makes me want to play it over and over again. It is my favourite Sonic game by all means, and this next one comes very close to beating it. So let's move on to Sonic and Knuckles. Right, Sonic and Knuckles, guys. Now this game takes place directly after Sonic 3 in the most dramatic fashion. The Death Egg has crashed, and obviously Robotnik is trying to essentially rise it back up to the sky, and in the process Knuckles is still very much tricked into thinking that Sonic's the enemy until about halfway through the game, and then he realises that Robotnik has been tricking him and he's been after the Chaos Emeralds, but not only that, a new emerald, which is known as the Master Emerald, which Sonic does go after and that Knuckles actually protects. So that kind of fills in the whole story, and you can guess what happens right at the end. I'm not going to go there, but the game in general, again, it's Sonic 3 but with a lot more elaborate levels, and just in general overall gameplay is just great. Now in this one you get the privilege to play as Knuckles and play that first segment of the story and the end of that story in his eyes and find out what he was doing in the midst of all this. And honestly, it is absolutely great. With that, there is a little bit of a treat for you guys if you were to stick Sonic 3 or Sonic 2 into the Sonic and Knuckles cartridge, because it was a lock-on cartridge. It had a little flap at the top where you could insert another cartridge, and that cartridge would have been Sonic 2 or Sonic 3. Now if you were to do that with Sonic 3, you could play through Sonic 3 and Sonic Knuckles all as one game and collect double the emeralds and unlock Hypersonic at the end of it all. That is great. Now this is something I've not done myself. I've hooked them up, but I've never actually completed the whole of the game. I wish I did, and I wish I had the time, but that's been life. But when you do, I've played as Hypersonic on a friend's computer, and oh, it's bliss. honestly, and it's probably fast as hell as well. But that being said, yeah, is that. But the game in general, with that lock-on capability, with Sonic 2, you could also play as Knuckles in Sonic 2. And those higher places that you thought you couldn't get to in Sonic 2 levels, it all starts to make sense on why they did this, because you do have higher parts of the level that Sonic couldn't get to. And that is just absolutely awesome. Now, after this, Sonic took a little bit of a nosedive. Not in the drastic fashion that he is in the 3D, but honestly, with the 2D games, the last 2D games that he really got was Sonic 3D Blast for the Mega Drive and the Saturn, and also Sonic CD. Out of the two, Sonic CD is the much better game. It's actually one of my favourite games by far. With that said, after that, bouncing into 3D, Sonic took a little bit of a drastic turn in the way that not many fans wanted him to, releasing games like Sonic 06, which I'll probably get around to doing a video on that. Not right now, but we'll do a video on that. And also, dare I say it, Sonic Boom, which was handed to a company called Big Red Button, which kind of did a mess up job of it. But honestly, over the years, Sonic has made a slow comeback with games like Sonic Colors, Sonic Generations, and also, by the looks of things, Sonic Forces, and to a lesser extent, Sonic Unleashed. Now, you might be shouting down the camera at me for that, but there is a reason I said Sonic Unleashed. The formula that they took with the day cycle on that game, where you were playing as Sonic, they took that into an abundance in Sonic Generations and used that formula only without the Werehog. And that is something that I loved in those games. It was only the Werehog that let it down in my view. But, honestly, that is the least of Sonic's problems right now. Now, Sonic is making a very big comeback this year with 2 games, no less. Sonic Mania, which comes out tomorrow. I will be doing an unboxing of that beautiful piece of collectible, and also Sonic Forces, which for me is a defining factor for the future of Sonic. If Sonic can nail that formula that he's had, then it should be absolutely fantastic if he can do that. Hopefully this will be the year of Sonic. For all you Sonic fans and all you Sega fans out there, let's hope that this is the defining factor for Sonic the Hedgehog to make a big, big comeback. And if that's the case, Sega fans and Sonic fans are going to be a very, very happy bunny. So, without any further delay, we shall end this video, and in the meantime, like, comment, subscribe, and I shall see you guys in the next video, which will be tomorrow, hopefully. I'm hoping my pre-order comes. It's paid. Let's hope.